Okay, here we go. Now we have fractions. Rational functions don't have a domain that's all real numbers. For this one right here, x cannot equal -2. For this one right here, x cannot equal 1. Okay, so let's go through those 2 bullet points. Exclusion number 1, an x that's not in the domain of g is not allowed in the domain of f of g of x. So what number can I use? X cannot equal 1. Okay, there's part 1 of us finding this domain. And then exclusion number 2, no x that will turn g of x into -2 is going to work. You see what I mean? I can't put -2 in for f. So if I'm finding f of g of x, I can't put something in for g that's going to turn g of x into -2, because when I try and put -2 in there, I'm going to get 0 in the denominator. So how do I find this? I'm going to say g of x can't end up equaling -2. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, so let me go over here and let me go 4 over x minus 1, which is g of x, and set it equal to -2, and I'm going to find out what I can't have. Or if you prefer, I'll just say it's not equal to, and we'll solve it that way. To get rid of this out of the denominator, you multiply both sides by parentheses x minus 1, so that these will cancel. Then 4 is not allowed to equal to -2 times x minus 1. My next step is obviously to distribute. So 4 cannot equal -2x plus 2. So I'm going to subtract. If I subtract 2, I get 2 is not allowed to equal -2x, and therefore x is not allowed to equal -1. If I put a -1 in here, -1 minus 1 is -2. I would have 4 over -2. That would be a -2. When I try to put it in here, I get 0 in the denominator and the whole thing falls apart. So what's the domain? I can't use either one of those numbers. So here we go. Find f of g of x. Well, here, I'll just do this. The domain x cannot equal -1 and 1. I'm going to write it like that for now. For f of g of x, for these two functions, find f of g of x, then list its domain as well. Oh, I'm doing 2 different problems. I see. So I'm going to find f of g of x and list its domain, and I'm going to find f of x and list its domain. Okay, f of g of x. Well, f of x is 1 over x plus 2. 1 over x plus 2, so I'm going to leave that empty. 1 over x plus 2. And what am I putting in there? I'm putting 4 over x minus 1. Okay, that's ugly. How I want to get rid of this fraction is by flipping and multiplying by the reciprocal, but I have to make this one fraction first. So my very first step is I need common denominators in the denominator. So instead of writing this as a 2, I'm going to write it as 2 times x minus 1 over x minus 1. I just got common denominators in the denominator. Okay? So I can write this as 1 over 1 denominator of x minus 1, and in the top I have 4 plus 2x minus 2. Okay, that's 1 over 2x plus 2 over x minus 1. And then how do you multiply by a fraction? I'm sorry, how do you divide by a fraction? You multiply by the reciprocal. So this will be 1 times x minus 1 over 2x plus 2. And so f of g of x is equal to x minus 1 over 2x plus 2. And I'm supposed to find the domain. I'll write it up here. The domain is that x is not allowed to equal -1 or +1. If it's a -1, it makes a 0 down here. It makes g of x 0, so that's not possible. If it's a +1, oops, that's what I meant to say. If it's a +1, it makes a 0 down here. If it's a -1, it makes this 4 over -2. That's a -2. But -2 plus 2 makes the whole thing 0 in the denominator. So it's things that make either one of those denominators 0 that are not allowed, and there they are. Okay, so there's that one. Here's f of x. Okay, it's 1 over x plus 2, so I go 1 over something plus 2. And the thing that goes in the parentheses is itself, 1 over x plus 2. Okay, well, for starters, x cannot equal -2. That's not allowed. And I've got to find out what would make this whole thing equal to -2, right? So let me just kind of do a little work in here for the domain. I'm going to write that this is for the domain. 1 over x plus 2 cannot equal -2. So I multiply and I get 1 cannot equal -2 times x plus 2. So 1 is not allowed to equal -2x minus 4. I get 5 is not allowed to equal to -2x by adding 4. So x is not allowed to equal -5 halves. So these two things are my exclusions from the domain. All right, back to work. F of x is going to be 1 over, I have 1 over x plus 2, and I want this 2 to be over x plus 2. So I multiply top and bottom by x plus 2. There you go. I just turned that 2 into 2 over 1 and multiplied it by that, so I would have a common denominator. So let's see, that's going to be 1 over 1 fraction with x plus 2 in the denominator. And I have 1 from the first fraction, and then I have 2x plus 4 from the second fraction. 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 2 is 4. So I get 1 over 2x plus 5 over x plus 2. And of course you figure that out by multiplying times the reciprocal, x plus 2 over 2x plus 5. And so I get f of x is equal to x plus 2 over 2x plus 5. What can't I use? I cannot use x equals -2, even though it looks okay here. 2 times -2 is -4, and I would get 0. But because it was not allowed to be used for this function in the first place, it can't be used for this function. And then the other one, -5 halves, if I put -5 halves in here, the 2's cancel, and I get 0 in the denominator, which we definitely can't use. Okay, last problem. Here's a trick we'll need to use in the next section. Are you ready for this ugly math word? Prove something. But we're not going to prove anything today. I'm going to start with a nice, easy little thing. I've got an f of x of 3x minus 4. I've got a g of x plus 4 over 3. I just want to show that f of g of x ends up being the same thing as g of f of x. So look, I go find each one. F of g of x. What is f of g of x equal to? Put this in for x. So 3 times something minus 4. And it's going to be x plus 4 over 3. And then what is g of f of x? I'm going to write them backwards. So go get the g of x function, that's this right here. It's something plus 4 over 3. And what do I put in there? I put 3x minus 4. Okay, this one, to simplify this, that minus 4 has to happen after all of this multiplication. These 3's cancel. And so I get x plus 4 minus 4, or f of g of x is simply equal to x. Now over here, I can't cancel these 3's because there's a plus up here. I would have to cancel with the 4 and with the parentheses. So since there's no squared or anything, I just combine like terms up top, and I get 3x minus 4 plus 4 over 3. Those just disappear. So this is 3x over 3, and then the 3's cancel at that point, and I get x here as well. So g of f of x is equal to x. F of g of x is equal to x. So f of g of x is equal to g of f of x, and both of them are equal to a simple little x. All right? There's your section 5-1. Homework is on my math lab. You've been an excellent crowd. Thank you for all your dedication. Have yourselves a good night.